What initially made Gears of War's story reach the hearts of many was its in-your-face, gory and brutal campaign gameplay, along with larger-than-life characters, excellent narratives and writing, unique level design, immersive world building, memorable villains, and gripping story. So I'm your host Abz, and let's discuss the inevitable Gears of War 6 and what we the fans want to see in Gears 6's campaign to reignite the flames of what made the original trilogy story one of the best gaming trilogies of all time. This is a Gears 6 story and campaign wishlist, so make sure to chainsaw your way through that like button and consider subscribing if you do enjoy the video. Now then, let's get into it. A problem with modern gaming is that too many video games nowadays sort of cut off their identity and cut off what actually made their game successful in order to either chase current trends, use the IPs to spread politics, or to appeal to a whole other audience, whilst trying to dispose its core audience. I think Gears of War as a franchise has been the victim of this in recent years, chasing trends, not pleasing its core audience, and not paying attention to the nuances that make the story and gameplay so special. Another recent game that springs to mind is Back4Blood, chasing trends, not appealing to its core audience, and really stepping far away from what made the Left 4 Dead series so special. As a result, losing the identity of the game itself, Back4Blood ultimately failed to recapture the magic of the Left 4 Dead series. So for Gears of War to succeed again, they need to create a game similar to what has proven to be successful, and refining and changing certain elements of it. Like every other hit franchise, if you have a winning formula, you don't go on and try to reinvent the wheel, you expand upon every good idea that the franchise has created. The core audience of a franchise is never disposable. Now I'm not saying it just outright copy Gears 1 to 3, no. What I'm saying is there's a proven and tested winning formula made in the original games. So study it and recapture it, give your fans what they want, and everything else will fall into place. What I loved about Gears of War when I was growing up was the unique and memorable characters that littered the universe in the midst of an unforgiving war. The protagonist, Marcus Phoenix, was likeable. He wasn't generic at all. He had a backstory. He took shit from no one. He was the perfect military professional, and he always got the job done. He was always serious, especially in his monotone voice, but he was an excellent leader. We also had Dominic Santiago as part of Delta Squad. He was always there for you. He had his own overarching plot and his own demons that he was fighting against. But he was always there for Marcus throughout the trilogy, and he was your best friend that'll never give up on you. Even if it meant sacrificing himself to save you and the world, his loyalty was unlike anyone else's. Step forward Augustus Cole, the Cole Train. This man is not like your average, a mountain of a man. He's cocky, he's arrogant, he's funny, a fucking badass wrecking machine, and literally a one-man army. Former thrashball player who joined the military to fight Locust. Highly energetic, enthusiastic and cunning, he has an inexhaustible amount of energy that seems to amp up people around him. He was the perfect team player. Not to mention Damon Baird, the blonde genius, the Cole Train's best friend, a mechanical and scientific expert, but also a cocky smartass, and an asshole for the most part. He's a sarcastic and negative person, but despite this, he was highly intelligent, and he was relied upon many times from the rest of Delta Squad, whether it was to fix, build, or blow shit up. These are 4 of the gold standard of characters from Gears of War that truly resonate with fans across the world. Each of these 4 characters could have easily been a protagonist of their own separate game. That's how well developed they were. I've not even mentioned other characters like the Carmines, Anya, Ty, Dizzy and others, so you get the picture. But in recent years, I just cannot get on board with characters like Kate, Del and JD. I think they offer very little. They come across as immature in the midst of a planetary war, they're selfish, they don't know how to respect leaders or become leaders, and I honestly think they're just poorly written. But I do think the characters in Gears 5 Hivebusters and Gears Tactics were written a lot better. They were more likable, they had more to them, they had interesting backgrounds that tied them into the universe as well. Were they as good as characters like Cole, Anya or Paddock? Not really, but I am a fan of the creation of Sid Redburn. I think he is a very good, hard as nails character that really fits the Gears of War universe. So in Gears of War 6 they have to look at creating more larger than life characters and develop the characters very well. When it comes to storytelling in the Gears of War universe, I think Gears of War 2 is the gold standard. From the start we are shown Chairman Prescott rallying the troops, motivating them that this is now the time to take the fight back to the Locust on their home turf. Humanity has been on the brink of extinction for too long and now they have to fight to ensure their survival as a species. So from here, the rest of the game, your job is to of course take the fight to the Locust. You go underground into the Hollow. There's so much at stake, as you then realise the Locust are using a giant freaking worm to sink the nearby cities of Jacinto. So then you gotta kill that big boy from the inside to stop the Locust. But then you also have been given orders from the COG's high command of a decommissioned COG outpost, also known as the New Hope Research Facility. But then your boy Dom is also looking for his wife who's been captured, and so on. Every subplot has a purpose to the overarching story. Nothing just happens because of the sake of it. Everything is intertwined. This is war, and everything is on the line. When it comes to level design for Gears of War, Gears 2 is the gold standard for me once again. In Gears of War 1, you often spent a lot of time through the streets, throwing frag grenades into emergence holes, and it got repetitive after a while. But in Gears of War 2 it was bigger, badder and better. The set pieces were amazing. There are times when you are fighting on the top of an assault derrick against Locust forces. Then you are making your way through the eerie and strange place known as the Hollow. Then the next minute you're in the inside of a giant worm. There's blood, goo, veins and remains everywhere as you look to kill the riftworm. Other times you're on a Locust gunboat fighting an underwater apex predator, or you're riding a reaver in the sky whilst a giant hydra chases you. These different levels change up the gameplay massively. I don't know if Gear 6 will be linear or open world. Will there be more shades of exploration? I don't know, but what I do know is that cool set pieces and level designs help make a Gears of War campaign great. One of the main themes of Gears of War, from the aesthetics to the landscapes to the characters and enemies, mainly in the first two installments, there was a dark and gritty tone. Not as much in Gears of War 3, but it was still there to some degree. The first Gears game was almost a horror game at times, when you enter a tomb where a berserker is awaiting you, to watching your step in almost utter darkness, otherwise you'd become eaten alive by krill. I don't think the environments necessarily have to always be dark. It depends on the tone and where you are on the world of Sarah, but it has to have some involvement in the campaign in my opinion. To be gritty is to basically have strong qualities of tough, uncompromising realism in the story. The characters should act in a real and authentic way, being resolute and courageous. When I think of Gears of War, I think of the movie Predator, badass soldiers, like a 70s or 80s film. Whether they're male or female, it doesn't matter, they should be tough as nails, unique and gritty characters. In Gear 6, I'd like to see the return of more villainous, unforgiving and merciless enemies. The Locust Horde were brutal and unique. In Gear 6, I don't know if the Locust will return or not, but either way, whether it's the Locust, Swarm or even another threat, the enemies have to present a credible case and be memorable. I personally think they should redesign Swarm to look more unique and monstrous, because I'm not really a fan of their designs, and currently I think they're just playing second fiddle to the Locust in almost every department, and these guys are supposed to be the evolution of the Locust, but I don't really see it. You'll notice in the background of this and many of my other Gears of War videos, the music behind the Gears of War universe, whether it's a main menu theme or other original soundtracks. I think the music behind a video game, and even any other entertainment mediums really, helps set the tone in different instances. Whether it's a scene, the atmosphere being portrayed, the emotions, encountering enemies, boss fights, and so on. These should be implemented in the correct ways, to perfectly match the colour palettes and all of the other finer details in the creation of the gameplay and cutscenes. I think Gears of War should return to similar iconic music and themes that were created in the original games, similar to what Halo Infinite did. But when it comes to the sound design, it's difficult to of course explain how I would want things to sound. But to summarise, I want there to be weight and intensity behind the sound design of the world, the characters, the weapons and the story. Whether it's the weight of sound of your character moving and hitting covers, the weight of sound of the different weapons you're using, the explosions, etc. Paying attention to these nuances and details helps differentiate the game, gives Gears of War its identity, and of course the smaller finer details do add up and helps give the game soul. So that is my Gears of War 6 story and campaign wishlist. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already for more Gears of War gaming content, as well as gaming reviews, lore and discussions. If Gear 6 is the ending of the main storyline, go all out with it. It's time to take the gloves off. I'm your host Abz, and I'll catch you next time.